Well, I believe there was two new Democratic parties contained in one. There was, the woke, trendy, elitist New Democratic Party. And obviously those activists and those people did not vote for me.
Yes.
But there's a lot of great, working class, blue collar, hardworking, common sense people who've been voting NDP for generations.
Yes.
Because they saw it as a party of the little guy. And they believed that the NDP would get in there and scrap it out for them.
Betting markets predicted that there was a 90% probability that would be Canada's next prime minister. About what happened?
Well, geez, it was if your starting point is July, you said January 19th. A lot happened in that time. We got in a very short period of time, President Trump's tariffs and his 51st state talk. The Liberals replaced their leader. The carbon tax disappeared. The coalition ended, all in a very short period of time. And ultimately, the NDP collapsed to monumentally low levels.
Yes.
And, if you look at our numbers, they didn't actually come down that much. We got 41.3%, which is the highest we've got since '88. So what happened was that everything else consolidated around the Liberals and on one basic issue. We made great gains, a couple million more votes, 2.5 million to be precise, and about 25 more seats. It wasn't enough to overcome that consolidation. And but now we have to build on the coalition that we've established. Like it's a new group. They're voting for us now.
Yes.
We brought in a lot of youth, union workers, newcomers to the country, a lot of people who'd never voted at all that came out and cast a ballot. And now our challenge is how do we crystallize that? How do we keep these people inspired? How do we actually deliver for them the best we can in opposition?
Yes.
And then add the 2 or 3 percentage points more of people who didn't come out for us this time, so that we can get over the top next time.
Election. But you mentioned Donald Trump, and he, of course, was a big part of the story. It became evident during the campaign, Pierre, that he didn't want you to be the next prime minister. What do you think's behind that?
I don't know. I mean, I would be theorizing. So I don't want to speculate on why, but my purpose was to put our country first and foremost, repatriate more production here, make us more self-reliant and independent, hit other markets by getting our most precious resources to places that will pay us the full price.
Yes.
And enrich our people. And so I'm a Canadian patriot, maybe a bit of a Canadian nationalist, and that's the agenda that I have on the U.S. issue. In opposition, we're saying we'll work with the government to try and overcome these tariffs and hopefully just get back to a sane free trading arrangement with the Americans that served both countries so well for so long. Mm-hmm. We're not going to just support any deal, but we want a deal to happen so that, the steel workers in Hamilton, the auto workers in Windsor and Oshawa and southwestern Ontario, the energy workers out west get their jobs and get better lives. So that's how we're going to be approaching it going forward.
If you'll permit me to follow up, you're someone who's not just a conservative politician, but someone who's spent his life in the world of conservative ideas.
Yeah.
Do you think Donald Trump is a conservative?
I mean, I don't know if I would. I don't know what label to put on him. He's got his own approach. My approach is the one you see when you hear me speak. And that's what I consider to be conservatism. But I'm not going to put a label on another foreign leader because at the end of the day, we're going to have to do business with President Trump. He's going to be president for the next 3+ years. And you never know, I might be prime minister before that time is up. So I'm not going to, I'm going to have to potentially do diplomacy
Yes.
with him or his successor.
Yes.
And so I don't think, I appreciate the try.
2025. How do you think about the role of the New Democrats, which is to say, if we are entering a period of essentially two-party races, at least in English Canada, how will that influence Conservative Party planning and strategy?
Well, I believe there was two new Democratic parties contained in one. There was, the woke, trendy, elitist New Democratic Party. And obviously those activists and those people did not vote for me.
Yes.
But there's a lot of great, working class, blue collar, hardworking, common sense people who've been voting NDP for generations.
Yes.
Because they saw it as a party of the little guy. And they believed that the NDP would get in there and scrap it out for them. And even if they wouldn't form a government. But what they saw, though, was increasingly with parties that, call themselves progressive or liberal, and I know I've already criticized the term, but left, it was increasingly special interest causes that don't affect people's lives or actually make life worse.
Yes.
So the working people really rallied around us. And I think we're seeing that around the world. There is a realignment, and it is because, traditionally we think of the idea of growing the government was supposed to make it redistribution that was going to take from the rich and give to the working poor.
Yes.
But that's not what's happening. As government's getting bigger and bigger, it's actually reverse redistribution. They're taking from, I always like to say, taking from the have-nots to give to the have-yots. And the state is really, as it expands, has become a way of taking from hardworking people, making them poorer, and then there's a very small group of an aristocratic elite that gets the benefits of that. And I think that's why you've seen a lot of the union workers that had been traditionally in the NDP come to the Conservative Party. We offered them hope of home ownership, hope that they at the end of the month they'd look at their paycheck and see something still left, hope that they'd be able to save up for their kids' education, hope that their hard work would pay off, hope that they'd get a job building a pipeline or digging a mine or doing some other great industrial job that the country needs. And also just respect. I think one of the reasons why we did so well with trades workers is because I said to them, what you do is important.
Yes.
For the longest time, there's been this stereotype that you have to go to university and wear a suit and all that. And that's great. That's what I did. I went to university, I wear a suit. So I'm not bashing that. But we have totally underestimated the importance of the people who literally do make things with their hands.
Yes.
And actually even more so with their minds. It's brain work. And I'm the first federal leader who has spent this much time and spoken so much about the importance of those people, even though I don't have a trades background myself. I wish I did. I think a lot of them were inspired to hear somebody tell them, look them in the eye and say, what you do matters. This country cannot function without you, and we're going to make the country work for you too.